number 10, Luann and Tom D'Agostino. Real Housewives of New York cast members Luann and Tom D'Agostino weren't the greatest pair, and everyone on set could have told you that. The toxicity ran deep with these two, but most of it stemmed from Tom. The other cast members actually warned Luann about Tom, saying that he was untrustworthy and that he was still in love with his ex, but even with that warning, Luann continued her romance and the two got married on New Year's Eve in 2016. At the end of the show's 8th season, it was revealed that one of the cast members had compromising photos of Tom kissing another woman just days after his and Luann's engagement party. This was a big red flag, as you could imagine. Soon it became apparent to the public that there were some serious problems in their relationship, as Luann and Tom got into a heated argument in public at a restaurant, which ended with Luann slapping Tom across the face. This heated relationship and Tom's constant cheating never subsided, as days before their divorce announcement, Tom was caught with yet another woman, but at that point, no one was really all that surprised. They were only married for 7 months, but those were the craziest 7 months of their lives. Luann regrets not listening to her castmates when they warned her about Tom, and she wishes she never married such an awful person. At number 9, Chad Johnson and Evelyn Lozada. Chad Johnson, also known as Chad Ochocinco, and ex-wife Evelyn Lozada were only married for 2 months, but so much happened in that short amount of time to permanently damage their relationship. Their relationship was intense and toxic, but it wasn't until after they got married that the world really learned just how awful it was. After dating for less than a year, the two were wed in a 4th of July ceremony in 2012, but just 2 months later there came an incident that broke them apart. Evelyn recalled finding a receipt in Chad's car for items that prompted the idea that Chad was cheating. The two fought and it all ended with Chad seriously injuring his wife. Chad was arrested for battery and DV, and they divorced shortly after the incident. Evelyn did an interview after the ordeal where she opened up about her feelings on the situation and how her life had been affected by it. After that, the couple split up and moved on with their lives. At number 8, Elizabeth Taylor and Conrad Hilton. Elizabeth Taylor was one of Hollywood's most memorable icons, and surprisingly, she was married 8 times. She had many stories and encounters to recall throughout her life, but one of her shortest and most regrettable marriages she had was to hotel heir Conrad Hilton. The two were only married for 205 days before undoing their marriage after feeling neglected and hurt by her new husband. She was only 18 at the time of her marriage, but shortly after their wedding, Liz recalled how indifferent Conrad was towards her and how hurt she felt when he spoke to her using abusive language. Liz won her divorce on the grounds of mental cruelty. She refused alimony and took back her maiden name. It was almost like it never happened, and Liz wanted it that way. She knew that she deserved better in life and refused to put up with Conrad's horrible treatment of her. During their honeymoon, the two reportedly fought a lot and spent more time apart than they did together, so this was one of the first red flags that things just weren't right between them. She later told news sources that her idea of marriage was very naive, and so she regretted her decision. She lived a better life without him anyway. At number 7, Ike and Tina Turner. Tina Turner is an absolute legend, and to think that someone would ever want to hurt this talented woman is honestly so sad. Ike and Tina were a musical powerhouse, but they had a tumultuous and toxic relationship, leaving Tina regretting having ever known him. The two met while Tina was still a teenager, and they began performing together, starting their musical act. In 1962, the two got married and continued to perform together for the following decade. Though they were a successful duo, Ike had been severely hurting Tina behind the scenes, causing her so much pain that she didn't deserve and even prompting her to try to take her own life. After surviving her attempt, she made it her mission to leave Ike and begin a fresh start on her own. That's exactly what she did, and she became an even bigger star because of it. At number 6, Jennifer Lopez and Ojani Noah. Jennifer Lopez is no stranger to walking down the aisle. She's been married 3 times already, but the one relationship that was her worst was her first marriage to Ojani Noah. Their marriage lasted less than a year, but their tumultuous drama that came after their divorce has lasted much longer. It seems as though their relationship was destined to fail, as Ojani documented a lot of JLo's life behind the scenes, saving it for later for his own tea spill. Noah tried leaking videos from the couple's honeymoon after their divorce, showing the singer in an intimate setting, and in years since has been very outspoken open about the singer, her career, and even had plans to release a tell-all book about his ex, followed by a movie deal. He really came into the relationship for his own personal gain, not for love, it seems. J-Lo actually ended up suing Ajani in 2009 for $10 million, citing that the videos he released as well as the book and movie deals violated an agreement that they had, which prohibited him from exposing the singer's life. Jennifer now looks back on this relationship with regret and doesn't even count her marriage to Ajani as valid because of how short it was. At number 5, John Finlay and Joe Exotic. We all know about Joe Exotic and his crazy relationships. After he gained a little fame with the success of the Tiger King documentary on Netflix last year, he and the others involved in his life became sort of public figures. To give us more insight on Joe, his ex-husband John Finlay recently came forward to talk about his life after the documentary brought him some minor popularity, and he exposed his former relationship with the now imprisoned Big Cat owner and exposed their marriage. John cannot express enough how regretful his marriage to Joe Exotic was. John said that this whole marriage was fake and toxic and that it was just for Joe's popularity, remarking that the wedding that was shown in the documentary, which showed him, Joe, and Travis Maldonado, was all, quote, basically a publicity stunt so Joe could get his own reality TV series, end quote. John spoke out saying that he still carries the pain from his time with Joe and is trying to forget his past by moving on with his new wife and making steps towards having the tattoos of Joe removed from his body. Joe went through a lot of trauma when he was with Joe, but luckily he's moving on from this dark time in his life. At number 4, Madonna and Guy Ritchie. Here's a marriage that was messy and toxic in every way possible. Madonna and Guy Ritchie divorced over 10 years ago, but their hatred towards one another still lives on, even if it's not as much as it used to be. The two were married for almost a decade, but their distaste for one another has lasted much longer, and because of this negativity, they no doubt regret ever being married in the first place. They both brought their own toxicity into the relationship, so I guess it could be said that they both married awful people because they were just as bad as each other. It seems like their marriage turned sour because Madonna was working so hard on her career, and so things became strained between them and the hostility began to grow. Coming out of the divorce, the worst of it started to come out. Guy made a lot of harsh comments about his marriage to Madonna, comparing his relationship with the singer to a soap opera, and also said that she was more concerned with her public image than she was with their marriage. Madonna fired back at her ex in the past, saying that she felt like she was incarcerated during their marriage and that Guy was nothing but a gold digger. There is just a lot of drama there, which really shows that they weren't a good match at all. At number 3, Wendy Williams and Kevin Hunter Sr. In 2019, talk show host Wendy Williams exposed her husband's serious affair with his massage therapist. Wendy's 20-year marriage to husband Kevin Hunter Sr. was dissolved after he was accused of not only cheating on Wendy, but also fathering another woman's child. When news broke of Kevin's affair, it was also revealed that the mistress had given birth to their child, and upon discovering this information, Wendy called it quits right then and there. When speaking out about the whole dramatic affair, Wendy said, quote, "Look, my husband had a full baby with a woman he was involved with for 15 years. Infidelity is one thing, a full baby is a whole nother topic. A baby. I'm not changing Pampers. I want to be pampered. I learned from my mother how to make lemons into lemonade. What am I supposed to do? Stay in the house and cry all day?" End quote. She definitely regrets her marriage to Kevin just because of how serious his affair was. She married an awful person because not only did he end up cheating on Wendy, but he had a whole child with another woman. At that point, I'm sure you would wish that you had never met that person in the first place. At number 2, Alexis DeJoria, Sandra Bullock, and Jesse James. Once a cheater, always a cheater, right? That's normally how things go. Well, that's how drag racer Alexis DeJoria and Sandra Bullock feel about their ex-husband Jesse James. Jesse has earned the label of serial cheater after it was discovered that there was some serious infidelity plaguing not only his past relationship with Sandra Bullock, but also his most recent marriage to Alexis. Both Sandra and Alexis have been caught in a cheating scandal with Jesse, and his most recent scandal revealed that Jesse cheated on Alexis with at least 20 different women. According to some sources, it was revealed that Jesse snuck women into his family home with Alexis, as well as fly women out to Austin just to hook up with them in hotel rooms. It was also reported that Alexis tried her best to work things out with Jesse, but he just wasn't interested in making things work and healing their marriage. After all of this drama and broken trust, both Alexis and Sandra regret ever being married to Jesse because of how much disregard he seemed to have for both of their respective relationships. They both married an awful man, and they certainly deserved a better partner. And finally, at number 1, Mary-Kate Olsen and Olivier Sarkozy. After multiple attempts and a lot of drama, Mary-Kate Olsen filed for divorce from her husband Olivier Sarkozy in 2020. Mary-Kate had tried multiple times to file for divorce from her husband through the New York City courts last year, but because of the pandemic and stay-at-home orders in New York, she was denied twice before finally having her paperwork accepted in late May. She wanted to get out of that marriage as soon as possible because drama and toxicity made it unbearable for her to go on any longer. The two had been married since 2015 and apparently had a number of rough patches, most notably their stance on starting a family. Olivier, who already had children with his ex-wife, didn't want any more, though Mary-Kate did. And on top of that, apparently the tipping point in their relationship was when Olivier's ex-wife moved into the couple's home. Mary-Kate seemed to have had enough with their disagreements, and especially those which involved the ex-wife, so she decided to leave her husband. Following her desire to leave, her husband apparently kicked Mary-Kate out of their home, and she was close to losing all of her personal belongings. She later realized what an awful person she married, but I'm sure she's glad to be out of that relationship now. At number 10, Mike Cosson. I stand by the saying, once a cheater, always a cheater, and so do a lot of other people who've been in failed relationships. Once your partner does you wrong, it takes a lot to regain that trust, and sometimes after a bond is broken, it can never be mended. This seems to have been the case with football player Mike Cosson and his wife, singer and actress Jana Kramer. The couple faced a cheating scandal back in 2016, and after that they spent the next few years trying to work on their marriage, trying to reconcile after this drama affected them so greatly, but the couple recently called it quits on their marriage when Jana took to social media in late April to announce their divorce. Her message to the public read, quote, "It's time. As I try to make sense of a reality I never wanted to believe could be possible again, those words have now become a reality. I've fought, y'all. I've loved hard. I've forgiven. I've put the work in. I've given everything I have, and now I have nothing else to give." End quote. The couple briefly split following the cheating scandal I mentioned before, where Mike's secrets were exposed, and though they were able to make amends to try and work on regaining their bond, things just weren't meant to work out in the long term, it seems. In her filings, Jana also cited the causes and reasons for their divorce, saying that, quote, "Inappropriate marital conduct, irreconcilable differences, and adultery were the reasons behind their failed marriage." At number 9, Bill Gates. When news first broke of Bill and Melinda Gates' divorce, it came as a shock to a lot of people, but once more information started to come out about Melinda's side of the relationship, people got to see that the divorce was fueled by a lot of Bill's actions. We have been finding out about how unhappy Melinda was in her marriage, but it turns out that the tipping point in the couple's marriage came after Bill started getting a little too close to Jeffrey Epstein. Information has come out suggesting that Melinda had made the decision to begin the divorcing process in 2019 after a report by the New York Times had linked Bill and Jeffrey. Melinda had previously warned Bill about Epstein and his business when they first met back in 2013. However, despite her forewarnings, Bill allegedly continued to meet with Epstein, later leading him to getting exposed for their friendship when Epstein was arrested in 2019. Melinda allegedly wanted to get out of her marriage as soon as she realized that Bill was in too deep with Epstein because she knew that their connection would end badly and she did not want to deal with that. If Bill hadn't gotten so close to Epstein, maybe things would have been different. At number 8, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Cheating scandals can be a huge deal among celebrities, and this next one is kind of chaotic and very messy. Basically, actor and former governor of California, Arnold Schwarzenegger, was caught in a very messy and high-profile cheating scandal that not only brought life into the world, but also ruined relationships. In 1997, Arnold had an affair with the family's former housekeeper Patty, and she soon became pregnant with his son. At the very same time, his wife was also expecting their 4th kid. As if the universe was wanting to make things extra spicy for Arnold, both his wife and mistress ended up giving birth within 5 days of each other, though they wouldn't find out about this until about a decade later. Much like all secrets, they have to come out eventually, and Arnold ended up coming clean to his wife about his affair in 2007. This information wasn't immediately shared with the public until 2011, where things blew up. Arnold revealed his infidelity to the public after announcing that he and his wife Maria were separating, while also revealing the truth about his kid with his mistress. This scandal hit his family really hard, and it ruined many of his relationships. At number 7, Jesse James. If you've ever been cheated on, then you know how awful it is. Finding out that your partner has been unfaithful is always heartbreaking, but finding out that it happened multiple times is a feeling that I honestly couldn't imagine. Serial cheating is something that greatly affected Jesse James and drag racer Alexis DeJouria's relationship after it was discovered that there was a lot of secrets being kept and a lot of infidelity. After a very messy cheating scandal, Jesse and Alexis ended their relationship after 7 years together. This breakup was really chaotic for the both of them because it was revealed that Jesse had cheated on his wife with at least 20 different women. According to some sources, Jesse would sneak many women into his house as well as fly women out to Austin where he lived to hook up with them in hotel rooms. It was also reported that even after everything Jesse did, Alexis tried to work things out with him, but he wasn't interested in making things work with her. Cheating is always the one way to completely destroy your relationship with someone, and Jesse is known for doing this since he also had a similar scandal with Sandra Bullock while they were together. At number 6, Joe Exotic. Wondering what's going on with Joe Exotic? Probably not, but I'll tell you anyway. After rising to fame last year following the Tiger King documentary, some people decided to check in on Joe Exotic from time to time, even though he's behind bars. Joe was sent to prison for his crimes, including his attempt at ending the life of his rival, Carol Baskin, as well as animal endangerment. In the docuseries, we also learned about Joe's personal life, including his relationship with his husband Dylan Passage. Dylan was one of the few men that Joe was married to, but now we're learning that a long-distance relationship from behind bars isn't the healthiest, as Joe and Dylan have announced their divorce. Dylan told sources that things have been very difficult to maintain when your partner is in jail for the next 20 years or so, and so they made the decision to end their marriage. If Joe didn't commit the crimes that he did, then maybe things would have been different and he would still be married. Joe has said that Dylan was helping him get through his time in prison, so now it seems like he'll be going it alone. At number 5, Brad Pitt. The last few marriages Brad Pitt has been in have not been the most successful, and he's kind of to blame. Before Brad and Angelina were able to take Hollywood by storm as a power couple, Brad and Jennifer Aniston were a thing, and they had a good thing going for a while until infidelity came in and ruined things. The couple got married in 2000 in a ceremony in Malibu, but come 2005, things started to break down. Brad and Angelina met while working on the film Mr. and Mrs. Smith in the summer of that year, and Brad fell hard for Angie. There was some cheating involved, and eventually Brad and Jen split up, making room for Angelina to enter the picture. Fast forward about a decade and the couple got married, only to divorce shortly after that because of some family drama, among other things. Brad seems to be really good at destroying his marriages, and honestly, that's not a good talent to have. At number 4, Eminem. Rapper Eminem, aka Marshall Mathers, has had a rocky relationship with his ex-wife Kim Scott, and it's sort of been that way since the very beginning. They met in the late 80s when Marshall was 15 and Kim was 13, and they became pretty dependent on each other. They lived together at his family home, later beginning a romantic relationship, moving in together, and having a daughter. After years of being an on-again, off-again couple, the two got married shortly before Marshall's first major tour. It was then that Kim saw Marshall and their relationship as imperfect, and she started to doubt whether she wanted this type of life for herself. Kim said that after the tour, Marshall got a big ego, and he started treating her as someone that was not worthy of his love and presence because he was a big star. Kim also alleged that her husband had been cheating on her. The rapper's career had a very negative effect on their relationship, and so 2 years after tying the knot, they divorced. Maybe Eminem wasn't ready to handle the fame he was getting, and that's what affected the relationship, but the bottom line here is that Kim didn't like how he had changed and how she was being treated, so she left. At number 3, Jude Law. Jude Law was involved in a cheating scandal in the early 2000s that destroyed his marriage to Sienna Miller and left a lot of people a little taken aback. After getting engaged in 2004, Jude Law was exposed for cheating on his fiancée with a woman named Daisy Wright. In 2006, Daisy, the nanny for Jude's children, came forward about how she and Jude were allegedly having an affair. She ended up spilling the beans on their entire relationship in an interview she did with the Sunday Mirror, and she went in depth about her affair with the actor, sharing every scandalous detail. A lot of people were shocked to hear about this whole affair, but eventually Jude came clean to the public about everything and issued an apology to Sienna. He ruined his marriage to be because he decided to cheat, so that's pretty unfortunate that their marriage ended before it even began. At number 2, Jay-Z. Even the biggest celebrity couples have their problems. Take Beyonce and Jay-Z for example. Though this couple is seen by many as a Hollywood power couple, always standing by each other's sides, even they have had their troubles with infidelity. It all started when Solange and Jay-Z got into that big elevator fight at the Met. There was a lot of drama surrounding that fight because no one really knew what provoked it until word came out saying that it was because Jay-Z had cheated. Though no one really acknowledged or spoke about this apparent infidelity, things got worse when Beyonce low-key exposed her husband's infidelity on her album Lemonade, where she made several subtle and not so subtle comments on her husband's alleged affair. Jay-Z had to respond with his music where he apologized to his wife for his infidelity and addressed some of their relationship issues. After all this drama both in and out of the music world, they were able to seek out couples therapy and rebuild their relationship, but for a while there, things looked bad and Jay-Z had pretty much destroyed the relationship for a bit. And finally, at number 1, Kanye West. Kanye has been through a lot lately. He lost the presidential race and now he's lost his marriage. Kim and Kanye's relationship looked like it had been on his last leg for a while, especially after all of that drama between Kanye and the Kardashians following his presidential campaign rant and Twitter meltdowns. There was, however, a lot more going on behind the scenes that we didn't know about. Apparently, there came a point where things just became too complicated and too toxic to handle. Kim talked about some of the rocky things that happened with her and Kanye towards the end, like how he spent much of his time away from his family in Wyoming and how the communication was at an all-time low. There was also reports that Kim and Kanye were fighting a lot, and there was also a rumor that Kanye had tried to sleep with another woman while married to Kim. According to the reality star, Kanye also didn't really want to contribute to fixing the relationship, even though they both knew that things weren't working anymore. So maybe if he had just put more effort in, things would have been different.
Starting off with number 10, Julia Roberts and Kiefer Sutherland. The fact that these two even dated at one point in time is a shock to me. But back in 1991, the pair were engaged and headed for marriage. They met on the set of Flatliners and quickly fell in love. They were set to get married in a lavish ceremony at the 20th Century Fox soundstage, not exactly sure why, but that was the decision. However, the wedding did not end up happening. 3 days before the wedding, Julia got cold feet and decided she didn't want to marry Sutherland. On June 14th, the day Julia was supposed to marry Kiefer, she decided to instead travel to Ireland with a friend. Kiefer was shocked with the sudden decision and later called the split painful. Thankfully, the pair did move on and got married to other people years later. And at number 9, Hugh Hefner and Crystal Harris. Hugh Hefner is not the type of man you would expect to get married, but after having a falling out with Holly Madison and the other girls next door, Hef decided to settle down with Crystal Harris. They planned to get married in June of 2011, but shockingly Crystal was the one who decided to back out only 5 days before. Hugh decided to take the news lightly and jokingly tweeted, quote, "Crystal has had a change of heart," and scheduled a screening of the movie Runaway Bride at the Playboy Mansion. However, the pair managed to get back together and they planned a second wedding, which both parties attended. They officially got married on New Year's Eve of 2012 when Crystal was 26 and Hugh was 86, and she remained his wife up until he passed away at the age of 91. And at number 8, Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck. These two looked like they were a perfect match and were so in love. Ben proposed with a massive $1.2 million 6.1 carat pink diamond, and they invited all their celebrity friends to their lavish September 14th, 2003 ceremony. But they did not end up getting married. After cheating allegations against Affleck became public, Affleck called off the wedding. At first they just postponed the wedding, but shortly after it was completely called off. A Canadian dancer came forward and claimed she hooked up with Ben while they were together. In her memoir, Lopez admitted that, quote, "It felt like my heart had been torn out of my chest." She was obviously devastated. Even more devastating was how quickly Ben moved on with Jennifer Garner. When Ben and Jen married in the Turks and Caicos Islands in June of 2005, Garner was already 4 months pregnant with their first child, Violet. J-Lo then went on to marry Mark Anthony. However, both of these marriages ended in divorce, and in a shocking twist, Bennifer is now back on. And it seems like they are more in love than ever. Maybe they'll walk down the aisle again. And at number 7, Demi Moore and Emilio Estevez. Way back in 1986, these two were said to be married at a lavish ceremony in a ritzy Bel Air estate. But shortly before it was set to happen, the pair decided to call off the wedding and remain friends. They got engaged after only 6 months of dating, after meeting on the set of St. Elmo's Fire. She also revealed he is the main reason that she got sober. She wrote, quote, "Emilio and I started dating seriously after I got sober. We were together for 6 months and then we got engaged and I moved in with him to his condo in Malibu. He was very, very sweet, very attentive, and looking back, I think a major factor in how quickly we moved was that I was craving a family and he had a close relationship with his." After splitting, Demi moved on quickly with Bruce Willis, marrying him in the next year. And at number 6, Carson Daly and Tara Reid. Another unlikely pairing, but these two got engaged in 2000 after 17 months of dating, but they never made it to the altar. At first the wedding was pushed back while they tried to figure out how they wanted to move forward. But not long after, they decided to cancel the wedding altogether. Years later, Tara admitted that she regretted not marrying him because she feels her life would be in a better place now if she had. She said, quote, "I think if I would have married Carson, I'd probably have kids by now. I wouldn't have had all that crazy partying. My life would have been completely different. I've never loved anyone the way that I loved him." Carson says he dodged a bullet by not getting engaged to Tara. He told Elle in 2013, quote, "To some extent, I dodged a bullet. I was getting serious about my career, and she wanted to shoot movies and just party in her time off. That didn't work for me." He then decided to date a non-famous woman. Halfway at number 5, Gwyneth Paltrow and Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt was at the center of a marriage scandal before the infamous cheating scandal between him, Angelina Jolie, and Jennifer Aniston. These two met early in their careers on the 1995 movie Seven. The couple were smitten and planned to get married in East Hampton, New York in the summer of 1997. But before the big day came, Paltrow decided she was not ready. She said she was too young for that big of a commitment. adding quote, "I just made a big mess of it and I was very upset for a long time about it." Before the big day, Brad seemed very excited to get married, telling Rolling Stone quote, "I can't wait to walk down the aisle, wear the ring, kiss the bride." After things ended with Gwyneth, he moved on to date a few other women before getting married to Jennifer Aniston, and I think we all know the mess that happened after that. In at number 4, Sienna Miller and Jude Law. This pair seemed destined to be together forever. They dated for 2 years before getting engaged, but before they were officially married, Sienna Miller decided to call off the engagement in July of 2005. She had learned that Jude Law was having an affair with the nanny and no longer wanted to be with him. They remained apart for many years after, until they shockingly got back together in 2009. They started dating again and were getting pretty cozy together. It was even rumored that they might be engaged once again and planning a 2010 wedding in France. But that did not happen, and they split for a second time in 2011. In at number 3, Katie Holmes and Chris Klein. Before she married megastar Tom Cruise, Katie dated fellow actor Chris. The cute couple got engaged on Christmas of 2003, but eventually ended their relationship in March of 2005 after 5 years together, just a month after Chris was busted for drunk driving in San Diego. Chris later shrugged, quote, "We grew up, we weren't lighting each other's fire anymore," and someone else was clearly lighting Katie's fire. Only weeks after breaking up with Chris, Katie made her first public appearance with Tom Cruise. Tomcat then divorced after a 6-year marriage. And at number 2, Lance Armstrong and Sheryl Crow. This couple came as a bit of a shock to me, and I guess it proved that you should never try to marry a rebound. Lance Armstrong divorced from his first wife in September of 2003, and shortly after this he started dating singer Sheryl Crow. Nobody was sure if they would stand the test of time because this was very clearly a rebound relationship for Lance. To everyone's shock, the new couple got engaged in September of 2005 and started planning a Santa Barbara wedding. But by February of 2006, the couple was done, and they decided to end their engagement. In his 2009 biography, Lance admitted that they wanted different things. He wrote, quote, "She wanted marriage, she wanted children. I didn't want that at the time because I had just gotten out of a marriage, I just had kids." The pair both moved on years later and both ended up having 2 children with other partners. And finally, number 1, Jesse James and Kat Von D. This couple was the definition of messy, and thankfully they did not end up together, because it most likely would have been very toxic. After getting in a very public scandal when he cheated on his ex-wife, Sandra Bullock, Jesse James moved on with celebrity tattoo artist Kat Von D. They first got together in 2010 and were engaged by January of 2011. We got to see the ins and outs of the wedding planning on her reality TV show, LA Inc. But before they could get married, they broke up. But like I said, this couple is messy, so they got back together and broke up once again, being officially over in September of 2011. It was later revealed that the reason for the breakup was cheating rumors. Really, who is shocked? That was not the last time that Kat went into a relationship before marriage though. She was engaged to music producer deadmau5 after her split from James, but she also ended that engagement.